शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽधिमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया आस्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं उषोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिवा कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव श्रमितमस्मि द्रविणगुंसवर्चसं सुमेधामृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यां मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निर्तेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य म आनीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनादितेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं नो अपि वातय मनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो ब्रह्मानं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं ह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यानस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततो मानतोऽस्मि। ॐ विश्वन्दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये यस्यैव स्फुरणं सदात्मकम् असत्कल्पार्थकं भासते साक्षात् तत्त्वमसीति वेदवचसा यो बोधयत्याश्रितान् यत्साक्षात् करणात् भवेन्न पुनरावृत्तिर्भवाम्भोनिधौ तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नानाच्छिद्रघटोदरस्थितमहादीपप्रभाभास्वरं ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकर्णद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते जानामीति तमेव भान्तमनुभाति एतत्समस्तं जगत् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये देहं प्राणमपीन्द्रियानपि चलां बुद्धिं च शून्यं विदुः स्त्रीबालान्दजडोपमास्त्वमिति भ्रान्ताभृशं वादिनः मायाशक्तिविलासकल्पितमहा व्यामोहसंहारिणे तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। So before we start, I just want to let you know that concerned about the frequent freezing of the frames, and so I got a more recent and a more powerful modem router from Xfinity just a couple of days ago and installed it, and hopefully that would solve it, but I'm not sure yet. The next step that we will do is to get a more powerful Wi-Fi extenders throughout the home, and so we'll continue to improve on that, but I think this might solve it. We'll see. If we do get interrupted, then Chandra Dulam has been saying that I don't need to restart. I mean, I can restart without having to repower everything down. I don't know how to do that yet. I'll learn from him. But in the meantime, if we do get interrupted, then I will actually turn the camera off, turn the iPod off, and then restart it. And so please stay with me as you have been doing. So apologies for that. So anyway, this is where we are. So in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, in the Brahma Sutras, the initial Bhashya that we did was the Adhyasa Bhashya, by Adi Shri Shankaracharya. And so what that basically said is that as we launch into an explanation of what is going on in terms of our lives and how we are conducting our lives and how we are making mistakes and so on and so forth, what to do to correct the path, so to speak. It is important to know that, really speaking, all of our transactions and all of our experiences, even better than transaction, all of our experiences are basically erroneous. So the experience by itself is not erroneous, but our taking the experience to be what it is erroneous. So here the analogy would be that if a person were to be looking at one's reflection in, let's say, a body of water, then that by itself is fine, because standing next to a body of water and if a similar looking copy to you which is reflected in the water is also possible. So as long as you take the image in the water, the reflection, to be what it is, there's no problem. But if for some reason you think that the reflection in the body of water is you, and you don't think about your own reality, then we have a problem. Then we have a problem, because this is not correct. This is just a superimposition that you are doing. It is really your reflection. The reality of the reflection comes from you. It is not born out of the water. The reality comes from you. The image is born out of the water, but the reality comes from you. And so if you transpose your reality to the image and see that as a real thing, then we need to correct you. So that is what the Adhyasa Bhashya was all about. And so we should understand that. Now, having done the Adhyasa Bhashya, saying I should clearly let you know that let me call the spade a spade, that really all of your experiences and transactions are false. Adhyasa. And the Ishvara has given us a very beautiful example of that, which is our dream. That really speaking, all the things in the dream which you look alike, which look real when you are there, eventually are proven to be false. And so similarly in the Jagrata Avastha, exactly the same thing is there. So this is the premise of the Adhyasa Bhashya. And then the rest of the Brahma Sutra is to convince you that that is in fact the situation. Because, we always have this doubt and all these kinds of things. I don't know about Vedanta saying this is an error and so on. It looks very real to me. I don't understand why we have to go through all of this. And so I don't quite accept it. And so the Brahma Sutras are to convince you that the spiritual wisdom is correct, and your thinking that this is the reality outside of you is incorrect. And this is what we have to think of that. And so this is what Brahma Sutra is all about. So we have finished that. So now we launched into the first sutra, Athato Brahmajir Gyansa. And the first sutra, as was pointed out, is neither inside the Brahma Sutra nor outside the Brahma Sutra. In fact, it's an introduction to the Brahma Sutra. That's the only sutra which is an introduction. And so the analogy given was like that of a door. So the door is neither inside the house or is it outside the house. And another analogy given is what is called Dehili Deepa Nyaya. So Dehili Deepa Nyaya is something like a lamp which is sitting on a windowsill. And as such, it lights up both inside as well as outside. This is what is called Dehili Deepa. And so the first sutra is also like a Dehili Deepa, because it is not part of the, it is part, but it is not inside the Brahma Sutra. It is an introduction to the Brahma Sutra, launches you from outside. And there, in the way Swami Paramarthananda is treating this analysis, just to revise, he is doing this, each sutra in 3 segments. One is a general introduction. The second one is a specific word-for-word analysis. And the third one is a conclusion. So that being the case, we have already done the general introduction. The general introduction of Athato Brahmajir Gyansa was that why we are saying it's an introduction, because it says Atha Brahma Jigyasa. These are the 4 words that are used. So the first one is called Atha. So the Atha means, what do you mean by Atha? Why is that word used? And the Atha is to bring the introduction of a person in terms of an adhikari, of a qualified person, to begin the enquiry of Brahman. And so the word Atha refers to the preparation in my life where I have to get ready to understand. It is exactly entering into a graduate school. You cannot really gain anything out of the graduate school unless you are prepared. And what is that preparation? Is the Atha Shabda. Okay, so we've done a general introduction which culminates in the following example. The following sentence. The sentence is Athato Vedanta Shastra Vichara Kartavya. So you translate Athato Brahma Jigyasa into an understandable sentence, which is the kind of like the user language, and that means Atha, Ataha, thereafter, therefore, Vedanta Shastra Vichara Kartavya. Now you should now start to think about what is the Vedanta Shastra pointing out. This is the meaning of the first Shastra. Okay? Alright, so this is the general introduction to the first sutra. Now let us go into the second segment of the analysis, which is a word-for-word analysis of the sutra. And hopefully we'll finish it today. I don't know, but we will see. So here in the word-for-word analysis, both Yukti Pramana is being given as well as Shruti Pramana is being given. Yukti Pramana means it should make sense to you. It might take a little while for you to see the logic of it, but eventually the logic should be very clear, because our mind does not accept anything until it is understandable. We can just believe on something which is not understandable for the time being, but eventually the mind doesn't really accept it. So this is what is called Yukti Pramana. So the Yukti Pramana means that your own logical way of approaching things must be satisfied. This is number one. The second one is the Shruti Pramana, which means that this is the wisdom of well-proven pointing out by the spiritual literature, saying, yes, this is the way it is. Because if you have a doubt, is this the way? Is this consistent with what is supposed to be? And it says, yes, this is the way. This is the right interpretation. This is how you should look at it. This is called Shruti Pramana. So here, both of them are given. So, for example, in the Shruti Pramana, we saw that perhaps the most succinct shloka that is, it's there in various places, and we took some examples of that, but perhaps the most succinct, clear enunciation of this was given in the Mundaka Upanishad, where it says, Pariksha lokan karmachitan ayat brahmanaha nasti akritaha kritena tat vijnanartham gurumeva bigachet shotriyam brahmanishtam. Brahmanaha shotriyam nishtam. Shotriyam brahmanishtam. It says, please examine your experiences. Of course, you have continuous series of experiences with, illnesses and correction of illnesses and money and friendship and all those kinds of things. But get a view of where is it going. Take a back seat and just think about it and see whether it is really helping you. See what you want to do is being satisfied by your experiences or not. And please see that what you want to do is unconditional freedom, and your experiences are not providing you unconditional freedom. It is only giving you symptomatic relief, not the very answer to the very disease that we have, which is, I want to be totally free. So think about that. This is what is meant by Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. So Karmachitan means karma sadhyan, one which is established by karma. So this is an important thing for us to see. Swami Dayanand Ji used to base a lot of his teachings on this point, and that is that generally speaking, so this is the Karmachitan, karma sadhyan point. And I'll just make this point and then go on. What he used to say was that if you examined the way we approach our experiences, approach our conduct of our lives, it is one thing which is common to all of these, which is that you are not happy completely at this moment. This is common to all of us. Common to all of us because some are a little bit more happier than the others, but generally speaking, we are in a state of relative dissatisfaction in our life all the time. And as a result of that, and so here's what happens. You have various issues going on. One is relative dissatisfaction. The second one is not acceptance of the relative dissatisfaction. I don't like it. I want to solve this. And the third one is resorting to some action, hoping that this action or the series of actions will now solve the sense of dissatisfaction. So this is common to all of us. So what it really means, Swami Dayanand Ji used to say, is that you have concluded in this series of actions, and Adi Shankara in the Gita Bhashya continuously, all the Acharyas, Swami Maheshanand Ji has pointed out that Really, the continuous enunciation of this phenomena is called avidya kama karma. Avidya kama karma. So avidya means I am not well today. That itself is not correct because of the adhyasa. Kama means I've got to do something. This is unacceptable to me. And karma means what is it that you're doing. So you change your scenery, you do some different things. Now you go back to the same one all over again. Swami Dayanand used to say that this postponement of, and please see that this is not working. How long are you going to keep doing this? Well, I don't know. I don't have any choice. So the fact of the matter is that all of us at all times throughout our lives are in this situation. And this is not going to really keep you in. What will happen is that you'll have to give up this life, and now your basic issues are still there. When you take a new birth, it'll all get started in a new situation, new body, new pause, and see whether this is. And that reality is, instead of postponing through karma, you have to see what is called something that is also a very special kind of karma, because it is not to postpone things that I will do this later on. It looks okay. There's a Gajananam Wi-Fi. Let me see if there is something. No. Anyway, no. Looks like everything is okay. Because I was afraid that sometimes I don't even see the changes. The color on the camera, the red color on the camera seems to be okay. Everything is okay, but some message comes in. So I'm a little sensitive to that. Forgive me. So, vichara is also a kind of a karma. This is a huge topic, and we will take it up perhaps in the Vedantic Insights on Tuesday nights, one of these days, I don't know. Because the Tuesday night class will be going into much more depth on certain topics, and we will not leave the topic until we have pretty much exhausted all the thinking about it. So that's how that will be. But I'll just mention it here in this context, that Karmachitan, that's what I am triggering. Paraksha Lokan Karmachitan. So Karmachitan means Karma Sadhyan, one which is established by karma. Karma means a sense of doing something which says the following: all is not well with me now. I am not okay, but I will be okay if I do these actions. This is what is called Karmachitan Sadhyan. And that should be replaced by a different kind of a karma, which means non-acceptance of this limitation. Is this limitation really real or not? And it isn't. So you should question it, even though you don't quite understand it at the moment. So this is where the Shraddha comes in. So this is what it says. Basically, Vedanta Shastra Arambaniyam. May you begin the Shastra Vichara, start on it, follow this. And this is what is called Shruti Pramanam. So there are various examples of Shruti Pramanam, which is all given in here. So this is the analysis of the word atha. What is the meaning of the word atha? So the meaning of the word atha is that please have your sadhana up to date, your qualifications of, not sadhana, but your qualifications, viveka, vairagya, shatka sampatti, mumukshutvam, and so your qualifications have to be there. And then if you do that, your shastra vichara will become fruitful. And if it is not ready, if you're not ready, then you go back into Karmachitan Lokan Pariksha. You keep on examining keep on doing. It's very much like saying that while the disease is being treated, you can do some symptomatic relief. It's not a problem. And this is often done, that you have some kind of some issue with your body, and the doctor, having fully examined what is the problem, will tell you this is what you need to take, and take it for a while. In the meantime, if you have a skin problem, then just keep on applying ointment. The ointment is not going to really solve it forever. That will take time. But in the meantime, if you are bothered by the problems of the skin, just please go ahead and take the ointment. So there also it says, you need to develop the ability to do vichara, but in the meantime, karma is okay. Keep on doing it. Okay. So now we go to the next topic. And so all these topics are embedded in all the discussions about this and so on are embedded in the Abhashya. And this topic is an important topic. So the person says, okay, I think I agree with you that the atha means thereafter. But the question is, thereafter what? And he says, what the thereafter should be, you must do Purva Mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa means the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas. Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas means please go through all the rituals. Please do the yajnas. And according to the Vedic scriptures, and the entire Vedic scripture, 99% of that is based on Vidhivakyas. Now you do this. Now you are, when you are married, when you are not married, you cannot do certain pujas. Once you are married, you are qualified to do certain pujas. When you have children, there's some more changes that have to occur. And there is a prescription for exactly what kind of pujas you have to do, how long you have to do it, and this is what you need to do. So this shanka, this doubt says, okay, atha is accepted thereafter, but the thereafter should be after doing the entire karma mimamsa, purva mimamsa. Purva Mimamsa, you should know this. Mimamsa means a complete analysis of the Veda Vakyas. Mimamsa means an examination of the true meaning of the Vedic sentences. And the Vedic sentences have both, as you know, the Vedas consist of Karma Paravakyas, sentences that are purely based on actions that you have to perform. This is Karma Paravakya. Then you have Upasana Paravakya, where really your karmas have to be accompanied by a lot of prayerful attitudes. This is called Upasana. And sometimes the upasana and the karma, either the dry karma or the wet karma along with the bhakti, are both clubbed into karma kanda. So anyway, so there are 3 kandas or 2 kandas. 3 kandas are karma kanda, upasana kanda and jnana kanda. Or it can be clubbed into 2, karma kanda and jnana kanda. Never matter. But after doing the upasana, then you should do vichara. So here, so please understand this, what the Purva Pakshi or even a doubt, either a doubt or a Purva Paksha. Here it is really more of a Purva Paksha. Purva Paksha means, and this is very common actually, we all have our experiences. If you go to a very scholarly Pandit, not very scholarly but somewhat scholarly Pandit in a local temple, and you tell the temple that I am learning from Vedanta from this guy and so on, they might scoff at you and say, what does this guy know? Has he ever done any pujas? Has he done any yajnas? Does he do chanting regularly? Does he come to? So you say, well, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. Then they'll say, I don't know what you're doing. Why are you following him? Because the real stuff is in the temples and pujas and so on, bhakti and so on and so forth. And this thinking about things and jnanam and so on, I don't know about that. And you have very, very learned Pandits who will know that this is a transition. Yes, there is a karma, there is a upasana, then there is jnana. Now, coming back to the point here, so we are analyzing the word atha. This is a word analysis. All of that we are doing is the word analysis atha. So the shanka, the doubt is, okay, thereafter I accept, but the thereafter means you must do all of the karmas before you go there. So this is what is called krama. Krama means you do this phase number 1 and then you go to phase number 2. And we say no. Atha does not mean that you have to do karma kanda before you go to jnana kanda. No. So he gives four reasons. This is all Shankara Bhashya, which we will hopefully come up to. I'm just giving you an introduction to this. So Adi Shankara gives 4 reasons why this is not valid. First reason is that after the study of the Purva Mimamsa, supposing you do a very good job of following Purva Mimamsa, means Karma Kanda, you know what will happen? You will become an expert in doing the pujas. You will become very knowledgeable and you will feel good about it. Okay, you will feel good about it. This does not mean that you will acquire the qualities that are necessary for you to be called fully qualified. And what are those qualities? Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi, Shatka Sampatti and Mukshutvam. Sadhana Chatushtaya. There is no certainty. That person might have it, may not have it, but just by the study of karma doesn't mean that you are going to get qualified. You may not have a very soft mind towards it. In fact, very possible that it may become just the opposite. You will become so proud of your knowledge and that I am just, I know exactly what is going on. It just makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm knowledgeable. I'm a good guy, good person. It can be just the opposite. Instead, it needs to, you have to have soften your things and so on. That's not going to happen. Let me see some of the notes from Swami Paramarthananda if I'm missing something. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So the second one is, the second reason why the Karmakanda need not be done is it possibly could have been done in the previous life. Which culminates in there's some phone call, but I'll just ignore it. It culminates in this life finding the right kind of mind to pursue this. Doesn't mean that you have to go through, because supposing you did Karmakanda analysis in life but you did not complete it, and your body gave up and you have to take up a new life. Does it mean you have to start all over again? No. No. All that is remembered by Ishvara, and so now you don't have to completely do that Karmakanda all over again. In the meantime, you are now ready to do something different. So this is another one. The third one is what is called Prayojanam. Third reason why there is no necessity to finish the Karmakanda before you go to Jnanakanda is that the Karmakanda, the phala, the results of the doing the pujas and doing all of the rituals and so on is known to be anitya, known to be limited. Even the scholarly Pandits will also tell you that they are limited in their scope in giving you results. The best you can happen is to perhaps have some more happiness in this life, or perhaps you get graduated into Swargaloka, into some heavenly abode next time. And the Swargaloka also is anityam. Everything is anityam. All the anatma is anityam. So the phala of the karma is totally different. And whereas the phala of Jnanakanda is nityam. It is right now. It is not later. You may not have it until you are ready. That's a different thing. But when you have it means you may not understand it. You are already, everybody is nityam and all the time. But you may not understand it. You may continue to wallow around for a while. But eventually when it does happen, it is right now. This is what is called Sadhyo Mukti, not Krama Mukti. So this is point number 3. And the fourth one is that this is called pravritti differences. Pravritti differences means there are functional differences. In Karmakanda, there is activity. There is what is called pravritti. Jyotishtoma swargakamo yajeta. So you have to incite in, yes, I must do this. This is important. If it takes a lot of money, so be it. It means a lot of effort, so be it. Getting up 4 o'clock in the morning, so be it. It's all pravritti. This is rajasika. This is rajas guna. It requires a lot of rajoguna in order to do the pravritti. Jnanakanda is just the opposite. It is nivritti. Means that you better start with closing your eyes and not do anything. Just examine what's happening. It's just the opposite. You're going in the opposite direction. It is nivritti margaha, not pravritti margaha. Here Swami Paramarthananda says, Iyam tu bodhakam natu chodyam. Chodyam means a lot of work. And bodhakam means there is no work to understand that what I am taking myself to be is false. That's it. That's the end of it. Okay. So those are the reasons. So what it says is that atha means anantaram, but anantaram means your basic qualifications to do vichara, not your basic qualifications to do karmakanda. This is an important thing that the Shankara Bhashya points out. So, I'm trying to see whether I should there's a lot of detail on this point. And I'm not sure that I think we have pretty much tackled that by now. I think we will now complete it to say that the word atha means the acquisition of the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. The sampatti means the wealth of sadhana chatushtaya. I mean, we have a tendency to gather wealth anyway. See, we always have, because wealth gives security. So it is very, very logical for us to gather the wealth. But the wealth has to be analyzed as to what kind of wealth I want. So here Swami Maheshananji had pointed out very beautifully. He said, you have to think about whether the wealth you are getting has to be returned at some point in time or not. And if the wealth you are trying to acquire has to be returned, it is not true wealth. It is borrowed wealth. It's very much like, if you in the United States, everybody has it. Most of us, I finally got rid of it, but for a long time, the house was mortgaged to a bank. So you go around saying, I'm the owner of this home, I'm the owner of this home. And so, for example, sometimes there is an application and you say, do you own a home or are you renting? So you say, no, I own a home. I have my own home. Oh, good. You don't have your own home because 90% of that is mortgaged to a bank. And if you were to lose your job, you may have to get out of the home because you cannot pay the mortgage. So it is not really real wealth. So the real wealth is one which you don't have to return to anyone. And what is that kind of a wealth? Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Viveka vairagya samadhi shatka sampatti mumukshutvam. So even just look at the samadhi shatka sampatti means shamadama uparama uttiksha samadhanam etc. So what it really means is that if you acquire the wealth of tolerance. Let's just take one example. Suppose you acquire the wealth of tolerance. How to tolerate? Tolerate means if things happen that are not conducive to you, not be bothered about that. Not easy to get, but if you were to get it, and the whole study of Vedanta will help you to acquire this wealth, no doubt about it. And so if you were to get it, you cannot believe what a beautiful wealth it is for you to have. Because all of a sudden, instead of hoping that things don't bother you, where you have to be very sensitive, this is exactly what we do in our lives, because we avoid things that bother us and we go towards things that don't bother us. So we are always carefully charting our thought, our path. Whereas if the good example of that is, if you were to going into a thorny field and you are wearing hiking shoes, you're not bothered about where the thorns are, where they're not. But if you don't have the shoes, then you have to be very careful. I don't know how in India, I sometimes wonder about it, that 80% of the people don't have any shoes in the villages. Cannot afford to have chappals and so on. They're just going around bare feet. And so when you're doing that, you have to be very careful about what you step on. So similarly, if you are basically a normal person of being intolerant of things that bother you, your life is totally different. Whereas if you were to inculcate tolerance as a basic virtue which becomes your own, then life becomes so pleasant. Because if somebody says something to you which you normally would have been bothered and you are not now, you say, wow. You laugh inwardly, don't laugh outside, but inward you laugh at the other person. That people are insulting, they don't have the normal, but it's okay. Let them be what they are. So this is what is called, inner wealth. Inner wealth which you don't have to return. That is the real wealth. So, the real meaning of atha is not to go through karmakanda or anything like that. It is to acquire wealth that you don't have to return. And in fact, it is well established in our Shastra that these kinds of inner wealth, Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, etc., last through multiple lives. Like for example, supposing you are working very hard to acquire some capital, and now you have a home and you have some money saved up and all of that. You have to give it all up when you leave this life. And but this is the outer wealth. But if you were to get the inner wealth, that stays with you. Even the next life also, the mind remains the same, the body changes, the outside changes, but the mind is continuous. It is not discontinuous. In fact, this is a topic of discussion in the Gita class, which is the very meaning of karma. I'll discuss that in more detail. So anyway, the upshot is, atha means the acquisition of inner wealth. That's done. Now we go to the next word, ataha. Ataha Shabda Vichara. Now we are doing the Ataha Shabda Vichara, the second word. Okay? So, the literal meaning of Ataha is therefore. So the meaning is, the whole sutra meaning is, thereafter, therefore, one should do the vichara of Vedanta Shastra. This is the meaning of the entire sutra. So the second word ataha means therefore. So therefore the vichara of Brahman vichara kartavya should be done. What do you mean by therefore? So therefore means that if you want moksha, karma cannot give moksha. Karma cannot give moksha means that if you want unconditional freedom in your life, a sense of unconditional freedom, doing action will not help you. This is a very important and a very basic tenet of Advaita Vedanta. Why is that? Again, please see, go back to the Mundaka Upanishad, and if you were to sometimes have time, please see the analysis of that Mundaka Upanishad, Paraksha Lokan, Karmachitan, Ayat Brahmana. There the Shankara Bhashya and all of the Tikas and so on explain it in great detail. But I will just summarize it by saying, Akritaha kritena nasti means one which is infinity. Unconditional freedom means infinity. Infinity cannot be approached. From mathematical standpoint also it doesn't make sense. Whereas we are foolish enough to think that can be done. Foolish enough means, what is it? Every time you accumulate some cash, you accumulate some solution to your physical problems and so on, you feel, I am now becoming totally free. It's not going to happen. Because at the end of the life, you will still have issues. And when the next life happens, the same issues come back in a different form. It's not going to really help. So infinity cannot be reached. So either there is infinity or there is no infinity. Means that unless there is unconditional freedom, there is unconditional freedom. Otherwise the whole thing doesn't make any sense. It's like a cruel joke by Ishvara. And I don't believe that Ishvara is playing a cruel joke on anyone. No. So I think that the sagacity and the wisdom and the love of Ishvara has to be accepted. That being the case, that means that it is not a joke to get unconditional freedom. It is really possible. And if it is possible, then the only way it is possible is that I am already infinite, I don't realize it. That is really the path we have to follow. So the word therefore means that because karma cannot give me moksha, Brahma Gyanam alone gives moksha. Self-knowledge alone gives moksha. Knowing that I am infinity and I am acting in a very funny way of not understanding that is moksha. So since karma cannot give moksha, And since jnana alone gives moksha, therefore Brahma Vichara should be continued. This is the meaning of the second word, ataha. And so here again, both yukti and shruti has to anubhava, your own experience. Yes, indeed, I should see that nothing that I am doing is leading me to moksha. Nothing. I may think that I am making progress, but you're making progress for a short time in this life. Very conditional, not unconditional. And yukti also means samsara nivritti. And so yukti here means understanding the adhyasa, understanding the fact that I am unnecessarily taking my reflection to be real. This is all yukti. And then this is also provided by shruti. Shruti says that's exactly right. This is exactly what you need to do. Anyway, so that's that part of it. So now we're coming to the end of the word analysis of the first sutra. So the last one is, so we did atha, we did ataha. Then the third one, which is the last one, we'll finish that today. And so that is called Brahmajir Gyansa. Brahmajir Gyansa means, we have already done, Jigyasa means Gyatum Ichha. Gyatum Ichha means desire to know. Desire Brahma Gyanaya Vedanta Vicharaha. For knowing Brahman, a thinking should be engaged in. And what is Brahman here? Is, so there are three words to this. Brahman means Jagat Karanam. The very seed of the entire creation is Brahman. Not only the seed, the very basis of it. Like for example, when you have waves in the ocean, then the seed of the waves are the water. And the very content of the waves is the water. So to understand the very nature of the water is what will be called Jagat Karanam. Not the content of the water, but the content of the whole universe. This is Brahma. So, here, if we break it down, Brahmajir Gyansa into three portions. One is Brahma, one is Jigya, and one is Sa. Brahmajir Gyansa. Okay? So Brahman is the Jagat Karanam, the very basis of the whole life. My life, everybody else's life. There is a certain unchanging basis to all. This is what Brahman is. And this is what we are going to study in more detail. The second one is called Jigya. So Jigya means Jnanam. Jnanam means, so what is meant by Jnanam? So Jnanam here means a complete understanding, total understanding without doubt. This is what is called Avagati Paryantam. Avagati Paryantam means that until you have clarity. This is what is called Paraksha Gyanam. Paraksha Gyanam means one which is no longer subject to, we are not from this town and we just got down from the bus and we want to go to this temple. Can you please tell us where? So the person says, okay, no, the temple is very close by. It is only half a mile from here. So what you do is you go on this road, so that you take your notes out and you say, okay, all right, I'm writing it down. So you on this road, then you turn left after about 400 yards. Then you turn right on the first intersection. So you're writing it down, left, then the first right, and then you continue on it and you will see a sign for a petrol station. And after the gas station or petrol station, as it is said in India, then you will see that you are on the right path. So this is what is called Paraksha Gyanam. Paraksha Gyanam means that it is Gyanam because the person, unless the person is fooling you, but if he is not fooling you, this is the knowledge that he has provided for you to go in this direction. And sure, this is the way it is. But it is not Paraksha Gyanam. Well, you start walking and then indeed you follow the directions, you turn left and you take the first right and then you see, yeah, there is a gas station, exactly right. Oh yes, I can see the temple. When you reach the temple, this is what is called Paraksha Gyanam. Very similarly to there here also, that Brahma Vichara Kartavyaha, that this is the way to think about it. As we will see what the ways of thinking are. And so this is called Paraksha Gyanam. And so Paraksha Gyanam means that you follow the directions given by an authoritative source of person who is not trying to fool you. There is no agenda. And he says, yes, this is what you do. This is what Brahman is. It is hidden in your heart. You have to examine it. You have to make a viveka between changing and unchanging. And if you focus on the unchanging rather than the changing, you will see that it is there. Satyam, Jnanam, and all this is vichara that I have to do. But it is still Paraksha Gyanam. And if you do this vichara continuously for a while, then you say, wow, yes, this is true. This is called Paraksha Gyanam. Aparaksha Gyanam. So this is the meaning of the word jigya. Then the last part of that is sa. So sa is indicative of the sananta, san pratyaya, ichha. So ichha means a very definite intent to follow it, not a casual desire, but a very substantive, dedicated, you feel this is what I need to do. This is what we have to do. This is, all of our acharyas used to say that until you clearly establish that this is what I need to do, it won't really help you very much. You must clarify in your own mind that this is worth doing. In the beginning, it seems like, it's a good possibility, let me look into it. But then if you start traveling to it, your intensity of desire should improve to a point where nobody has to tell you anymore. You're pretty much on your own. This is what is called sa. So anyway, in the very end, so really the meaning of the first sutra, Athato Brahmajir Gyansa, means Brahma Gyanam Vicharam Kartavyaha. May you conduct a serious inquiry into Brahman. And with the help of Vedanta. Why Vedanta? Question is, why Vedanta? Why can't I just do self-inquiry? There is a lot of commentary on this, a lot of thinking about this. And he says, just doing who am I by yourself is not conducive. Not conducive. We talked about this for a long time as part of our course, where Swami Dayananji also, he all thought that there are people who are very well versed in this, but to conduct, like in case of Ramana Maharshi, he thinks very highly of Ramana. It's not as though he puts him down or anything. In fact, he spent a lot of time studying with Ramana also, Swami Dayananji, as a number of other acharyas. So it's not really criticizing him, but to have a self-conducting inquiry of who am I without a guru is not what Ramana had meant, but this is what is coming out to be. You just read a book, and there's lots of other people also. Krishnamurti is perhaps he says you don't need a guru. You just do it on your own. Why do you need a guru? Vedanta says, no, please, trust us. It doesn't work. And we can explain to you why it doesn't work, but let me just first tell you that without a live person, conduct is so difficult to do that to be on your own without any help, you're not going to be able to. If it was possible, then it would have been done. Even in that Mundaka Upanishad, Guru Meva Vigacche. He says that if you want to really go to a... So anyway, Brahma Gyanam Vichara Kartavyaha is the final analysis. And so now we have finished the word analysis of the first sutra. So what we will do is, we will do a concluding analysis of the first sutra, and then we'll be done and move on to the second sutra. Okay, so with that, let me close the class with reading the second 5 verses of Dakshinamurti Stotra. Om Rahu Grasta Divankarendu Sadisho Maya Samachadinat Sanmatra Karanopasamharnato Yo Bhut Sushuptaf Puman Pragaswapsamiti Prabodha Samaye Yafpatya Vigyayate Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Balyadishu api jagradadishu tatha sarvasvavasthasvapi vyavrittasvanuvartamanamahamityanta sada swatmanam prakati karoti bhajatam yo mudraya bhadraya tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Vishvam Pashyati Karyakaranataya Swaswami Sambandhataha Shishitaha Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshina Murtaye Bhurambhamsya nalo nilo Ambaramaharnartho Himamshuh Puman Ityabhati Charatmakamidam Yasyaiva Murtyashtakam Nanyat Kinchana Vidyate Vimrishatam Yasmat Parasmat Vibhoho Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Sarvatmatvamiti Sputikritamidam Yasmatamushmin stave Tenasya Shravanat Tadarthamananat Dhyanat cha Sankirtanat Sarvatmatvamaha Vibhuti Sahitam Syadishwaratvam Swataha Siddhyetat Punarashtadha Parinatam Chaishwaryam Avyahatam Ashubhani Nirachaste Tanoti Shubhasantatim Smriti Matrena Yat Pumsam Brahmatan Mangalam Param Ati Kalyana Rupatvat Nitya Kalyana Samshrayat Smartranam Varadatvat Cha Brahmatan Mangalam Viduhu Omkarascha Shabdascha Dvavetau Brahmanah Pura Kantham Bhitva Viniryatau Tasman Mangilikau Vubhau Omata 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 Asato ma Satkamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnalonilo So thank you for your comments regarding the fact that it is really still a problem. It is intermittent, but I'm happy that it comes back. So I think some more work is required and I will work on it. This is important for us to do this right. So I will look into that. Thanks very much for letting me know. And I will try to look into that. So Ashish Mudgil has a question that how should we see this intense suffering so many going through these days across the world due to COVID? How can Ishvara bestow so much suffering on us? So for this, other than the fact, I mean, you know, I wouldn't be saying this to people who are not students of Vedanta. So this is a more frank discussion. If there was, supposing my granddaughters were to ask me this question, that I would have a slightly different discussion with them. It's not untruthful, but with some changes. But the discussion with you would be that really Ishvara is not bestowing this suffering on us. So so several things to talk about this. It's not as though he just sits there and says, okay, I think I want to give problems to India at this point or to the world. It's not how it works. So Ishvara is karma phaladata. Karma phaladata means that he has established the very basis of the system, that actions and results are always consistent with each other. There's no arbitration there's no arbitrary nature of this. No politics involved in this. This is so here what it means is that the suffering that this being bestowed is really the result of our own past karmas, nothing else. And then you can now translate the question, what might we have done to create so many problems? And so here we don't know, because it's a very deep, a very deep subject where we cannot precisely tell what we did. But the fact of the matter is, and this is part of the discussion on the Bhagavad Gita also, that what we think about is we forget about our past. We somehow, so Swami Maheshananji also says we can't even remember what we ate yesterday. If I were to ask you, please write down what you ate for lunch yesterday, most of us will not even remember. So what to talk about our past karmas that have gone through in our previous lives? But they are not forgotten in the system. They're all there. So this is all karma phaladata. This is all karma phala, not phaladata. This is all karma phala. Ishvara doesn't sit there, making decisions about that. This is exactly what it has done. Now, why that is the case and how this will be solved, we don't know. I mean, we can tell that really we have abused our privileges in various ways, and it is now coming back to bite us. And it is temporary. It will happen. It's very possible that many people lose their lives, and they will be reunited in different ways, and the life will continue. This is all temporary. It will be okay in the end. But in the meantime, all the dukkha, all of the problems that we are having is not Ishvara's fault. It is our own fault in the past. This is the truth about it. This is number one. The second thing is that, and I think we were discussing this last Tuesday about this, I think Shanti Kumar has actually a comment. Let me read that. Yeah, anyway, so Shanti Kumar had saying that I'm very disturbed about all this, what can I do? So there we had a discussion on Tuesday night, and I'll repeat it here, that being disturbed about something is not helpful. Translating the disturbance into some meaningful action is helpful. Very important part of the system. Imagine, supposing you were to touch a hot plate with your hands and there is no pain. Imagine what will happen. Your whole hand will get burnt in no time at all. So having a pain is a very good trigger to say, I don't want to touch this anymore. So the being disturbed about something is a trigger that I must do something about it. So let's do something about it. To the extent that we can put some help, some money and so on, and that's how it should be done. So anyway, so that's another part of this whole thing. It's certainly very potentially very disturbing. Nobody says that we are callous about it. But I think we should say that this will be taken care of by the karma phaladata in one form or the other. And then my job is to help as much as I can to the extent and leave the rest up to Ishvara and the whole system. Ishvara means the whole system. And there are certainly mistakes to be made. I just read an article in the New York Times that I'm a big fan of Modi ji, but it is really interesting to see how he went overboard and not examining. So he has some blame, no doubt about it. So let's hope that gets corrected, and then we can come back to it in some form or the other. Anyway, so I think I need to move on to wind this up, and good for all of you to attend, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Okay? Om